With so many social media platforms out there, if you're trying to be everywhere, chances are you're not making as meaningful of an impact anywhere. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to determine where you should focus your time and energy on social media so that you can make a meaningful impact and grow your business. Since my goal with this video is to help you get focused fast, I want to dive right into the first step. Now, before we get to this first step, I just want to mention that if you're interested in crafting a compelling brand message and streamlining your marketing strategies so that you can effectively grow your business online, be sure to hit subscribe because I'm back here every single Tuesday with new videos to help you do exactly that. With that said, my intention for this video is to really help you get focused on the social media efforts that truly matter most for your business. So let's get right into this first step. Step number one to figuring out where you should be focusing your time and energy on social media is to understand the purpose that social media serves in your business. I love to tell my clients that social media is the place where you should be having those meaningful interactions with your ideal audience members on a consistent basis. In other words, you should be starting and contributing to conversations with the people that you want to be working with. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward, but I did want to make one clear distinction because I have a lot of people who come to me and say, oh, well, Pinterest is my preferred social media platform. And while Pinterest is great for driving traffic to your site, it's not necessarily social. It's not a place where people go to engage in conversation with one another. They use it more for clicking through to new sites, finding ideas and content that they want to save for later. So just being mindful of that it is a great tool to drive traffic to your site. It's not necessarily the ideal social platform for most businesses. Step number two is to define your social media goal. Now, if you're brand new, you're just starting out, or maybe you've only been in business for a few months, then your goal might relate to brand awareness. You might be trying to get more eyeballs on your business. But if you've been in business for a little bit longer, you maybe have even a small audience, then you may shift your focus to more lead generation, maybe sales. And once you've built up that audience and you've got a consistent customer base, maybe you even have a specific social media platform that's focused on community building and customer retention. An example of this would be when you see like a software company that's on Twitter and they're using it for primarily customer service purposes. That's a great way for those types of companies to retain clients and serve them on a very consistent basis. Once you've defined your goal, we can then move on to step number three, which is clarifying your call to action. Now, your call to action is simply what you want people to do after they consume your social media content. Now, this is generally going to fall into one of two categories, either engaging or what we're just going to call taking the next step. So this may mean going to a specific link that you've linked out to or navigating to some other piece of content that you've referred to in a social media post. A simple way to figure out which call to action you should primarily be using in your social media posts is simply to look back at your goal that you just set in the previous step. Now, it's really important to clarify your call to action before you pick your social platform to focus on for your business because there are certain best practices on specific platforms that lend themselves more to successfully using one type of call to action versus another. But first, take a minute to think about that goal you just defined in the last step and then determine the call to action that relates most to that goal. So if your goal related more to awareness or community building, then generally you're going to want people to engage after consuming your social media content. If your goal relates more to generating leads and sales, then you're generally going to want people to take action and leave that piece of content to either go to a sales page, a landing page, something along those lines after they consume your content. Now that you've defined your goal and you've clarified your call to action, it's time to dive into the specifics of each platform so that you can pick the one that's right for you. So let's dive right into the giant, Facebook. The one thing I do always want to recommend for small business owners is to have and regularly be posting on a Facebook business page. Now, you don't need to use it strategically to grow your business online, but you should at least have a Facebook business page and be repurposing some of the content that you're sharing on your main social media platform here on Facebook so that you can just kind of let people know, hey, the lights are on, we're in business. And if Facebook is where you know your audience is hanging out, consider starting a Facebook group. The reason why I recommend this approach rather than primarily using your Facebook page to reach your audience is simply because Facebook isn't really going to let you reach your audience organically if you're simply posting to your Facebook page. They want business owners to be running ads to reach their customers and clients, not just organically posting. So Instead, if Facebook is where you know your audience is hanging out, consider starting a Facebook group and sharing great content there. It's also going to show up in your audience's notifications, and it's a great way to start building community right out of the gates. Now, of course, I do want to mention that if you're starting a Facebook group from scratch, you're going to need to get people in there and get them engaged in order for anyone to see the content that you're sharing. So you may want to start out just getting in a couple Facebook groups that already exist and then engaging in there, not being annoying, not spamming, not, sharing a bunch of links out to other places on the internet in that Facebook group, but just organically engaging with people. And then if it makes sense, you could private message some people and invite them to join your Facebook group. But again, doing this in a really authentic, honest, ethical way that isn't annoying or spammy is going to be super important. Next, let's move on to Twitter. Now, Twitter is one I don't personally use for my business at the moment. The reason being because it's very much about in-the-moment conversations that are relevant to what's going on in the world right now. Now, I personally love to plan out my content a little bit ahead of time, so Twitter is not always the best choice for me. And not only that, but I tend to be a little long-winded. But if you love the idea of short, snappy content that is more conversational and in the moment, then Twitter is probably a great option for you. Not only this, but they also aren't as strict as Facebook is about sharing links off the platform. So you can link more easily to your website and other platforms that you're on without your content kind of getting buried by the algorithm. Facebook tends to bury that type of content that's taking people away from Facebook, where Twitter is a little more forgiving in that regard. Now, my favorite is Instagram. On Instagram, it's all about sharing visual content that starts a conversation. So every post that you share on Instagram, whether you're sharing video or you're sharing images, you want that content to start a conversation with your ideal audience members. Now, the image itself doesn't literally need to start the conversation, like, for example, posting a graphic that has a question in it, but the first few sentences of your caption should definitely spark some conversation with your ideal audience members, and it should also add value to them, whether that's an entertainment value or you're informing them or just inspiring them. Make sure that you're adding value in your Instagram posts and starting a conversation so that you can really have those authentic engagements with people and start to build a bit of a community on Instagram. And of course, if you're using Instagram because you want to generate awareness or build that sense of community, make sure that you're using hashtags that make sense for your ideal audience members. A big mistake that I see people making a lot is using hashtags that are super specific to what they do, like, for example, hashtag graphic designer or something along those lines. If your ideal audience is someone who doesn't have graphic design expertise, then you want to be using hashtags that make sense for that audience that you want to be reaching. So, for example, if you are a graphic designer and let's say you want to reach wedding professionals, then maybe you want to use hashtag wedding photographer or something along those lines that you know your ideal audience member might be searching online. All right, LinkedIn is the one that I haven't gotten a lot of experience with since I was in the job search phase several years back, and I really haven't even done much updating to it since I became my own boss 2.5 years ago. That said, I do know enough about the LinkedIn platform to share some insight on whether or not it might be right for you. The primary reason people are on LinkedIn is to do one of two things. The first thing being find people to hire new talent. And the second reason being get hired, find a new job. So those are the main reasons people are on LinkedIn. So if your audience falls into that realm of people, then maybe it makes sense for you to focus on LinkedIn for your business. A great example of this would be if you're a career coach. You coach people through the job search process, or maybe even to get promoted by their current employer, then it would make a ton of sense for you to be spending some time on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn tends to favor thought-leading articles, things of that nature, more robust content, not so short and snappy like on Twitter, but generally longer form articles, maybe even longer videos, things like that that really showcase your thought leadership. So if your audience is within those categories of somebody that's searching for new talent to bring on into their company, or they are themselves looking to get hired, then you may want to consider building up a presence on LinkedIn. And the last platform we're going to cover today is Snapchat. Two things you want to make note of about Snapchat. First thing being that the demographic on that platform tends to skew much younger than any of the other platforms, generally going to be under 30. So if that's your audience, then great. But you do want to consider the fact that you are not going to be very discoverable on Snapchat. This means that you need to have a presence on another platform in order to drive people to find you on Snapchat. So that's the thing that makes Snapchat a really great place to go once you already have an audience built up and your primary concern would be building a community, retaining those customers who already love you, sharing some behind the scenes stuff that you know is going to make people really fall in love with your brand and stick around and stay loyal to what it is you offer, that's going to be the right time to go on Snapchat. But of course, Instagram also offers stories where you can do something pretty similar. So if Snapchat doesn't interest you, you can always kind of find that same sort of feel of a platform through Instagram stories. So there you have it, 4 steps that you can follow to figure out where you should be focusing your time and energy on social media so that you can most effectively grow your business. Now, I would love to know which platform you're going to focus on for your business, so let me know in the comments below. Again, be sure to hit like and subscribe so you can always catch my new videos on Tuesdays. And if you want to find me on my favorite platform, click in the description, find me on Instagram at Ask Anne Marie Rose, and I'll see you soon.